In today's video, we're going to zoom in on the concept of double tops. We'll take a look at double tops on a micro basis. What I mean by that is using something like a 1 minute time frame chart. This looks like a much smaller double top. But then we'll also take the same knowledge, everything we discuss, and apply it to something bigger like say a 5 minute time frame chart. And some of these double tops should start to stand out to you. Now for our example, I'll be using the gold futures, but everything we talk about can be applied on whichever market, whichever time frame you're looking at. Now, if I start with the 1 minute time frame chart inside of gold, so we get this idea of being able to see more double tops than we're typically used to, what we're looking for is something like this. First, we need context, and the context is provided by our futures volatility box in this case, since we're on the GC futures. The goal with context is to know when you care about looking at any of these setups in the first place. For example, where do you think double tops are likely to actually succeed in the direction you'd expect compared to a double top that may have just happened as, say, price was chopping around? Something as simple as this right here, you could have argued was a double top, but one that we don't really care about because it's missing this crucial piece of context. Now, that's step one, is understanding when you care about the setup. Step two is actually identifying the setup. And for our fade setup with the volatility box, the rules are quite simple. We're looking for price action to breach our cyan lines. And once that happens, we know that, hey, we're officially in this zone where we expect price to reverse anyways. We then are waiting for our, in this case, overbought confirmation. We get that right here with the red arrow, and everything is met in terms of our trade rules. Now we're looking for an entry at the cyan line, so a pullback if we've already broken past it in order to actually take the entry. So the entry is the cyan line right here. The stop is outside of our volatility box clouds. In the case of gold today, that was about 3.4 points. And that becomes our first target as well, what we're looking for, 3.4. Now here, gold ended up making a max move of about 6.5 points, so we exceeded even our minimum first target. We had to stop at break even for remaining contracts, and that got taken out in price reversing here, which led to that 5 minute double top, which we'll look at next. Now, here we talked about just the fade setup, but if we look at the same price action here, where price is retreating and giving us what would typically be our retest, we see something a little bit different if we put on the double top glasses. We see we had one top here, we had a slight little pullback, we then have our second top here in which we make a new high. However, we fail to hold that high and show any level of strength, in this case bullish strength, above it. Instead, we see price action falter, and then we have that very famous M that we're used to seeing with the idea of double tops. As soon as we break that neckline of support, we can see gold has its next leg down lower here. And that's really where we see the little bit of support before it ultimately falls down. Now in all of this, my key takeaways here, where this retest, this new pullback to the cyan line, is really what the double top was in the first place. And I think if anything, the confidence should be improved when we see a new high being reached, in which we're failing to see that high continue to build strength upon it. If, say, instead these candles continued making a new high here, maybe even one additional high, and price started to close a little bit above where we opened, so we have some of these larger green-bodied candles, that would signal to you very clearly that, hey, this double top is not really a double top, it's in fact a new leg in this trend compared to what we see here, which is an attempt at a new leg, which is met with some resistance. Now, something else that I also find interesting, recently at least, to add is the momentum cross indicator. This is a fairly simple indicator. It just looks at the 3 EMA and the 8 EMA. And the key piece of information that it gives you is what is the shorter term trend? What are the short term moving averages tell us if we look at crosses? If I apply that on our chart and we take a look at the same quote unquote double top area now that we've been discussing, we can see that momentum cross takes place but before we break the neckline, but as we head towards it, after the second leg up, rather, if you call it, the second top has been confirmed that, hey, we're failing to show strength above it. So this is an example of the micro double top inside of the GC futures, really using the double top concept, overlaying that with the futures volatility box fade setup, and getting additional confirmations that, hey, the move that you're in is showing additional signs of weakness and starting to roll over. Now this was the 1 minute time frame chart. If I expand this, let's switch to something like, say, a 5 minute time frame. You start to see something similar but different in its own light. Now the 5 minute time frame, we don't have the same double top taking place in that very same hour. The 1 minute, all of that micro double top action happened in these two candles. On the 5 minute time frame chart, instead, the double top that stands out a little bit more is the one in which our M looks something more like this. We see price action tag, we make a new high here. So again, compared to our previous high, we don't have the same context. Here we start to not only have the context, but we can see price action makes a new high. We have a pullback. We then make a new high. Very easy to see that one here with even our chart bubble. There we're seeing we make a new high. This is even a 5-day new high that we've made here. But price action is unable to show any level of strength above it. We're starting to see wicks come into play here. We have what looks like a strong bodied candle, which you would expect continuation for, but we don't even break above the high of that candle for really the rest of the day. So this was that larger double top inside of the 5 minute chart in the gold futures. Similar setup here where price shows exhaustion signs. We make a new high, unable to really show continuation there. This is a fairly significant new high at that, a 5-day new high. And we aren't seeing buyers continue to keep picking up price action there. Instead, we start to see the rollover. And using the 5 minute time frame, we see the momentum cross take place once and twice, where we have the bulls try one short little last time that, hey, can we get momentum going in the direction we'd expect? But no, instead this ends up becoming a wall and we see price action roll over from there. For those of you that like to use double tops in your trading, I hope you found today's video useful. Take care everyone, good luck trading, and we'll see you in the next update.